Since the Walt Disney Company's motion to deny Gina Carano's lawsuit has been denied, it sounds like if it's not settled, it will go to court. But where can you see it televised? Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is my Wookiee co-pilot, Mr. VashSky. So we had Ron Coleman on the channel to be on That Park Place Live, which is our live stream that is every Thursday at noon Eastern Time. If you want to show up for that and ask questions live, that's a great opportunity to do it. We love to do it. We'd love to take questions as we go through all the important Disney news of the week. A question that I had for Ron Coleman is, which YouTube channel can I go to watch the Gina Carano lawsuit being televised? Well, he answered our question and also pointed out why it won't be happening. Spoiler alert. Vash, punch it. Thank you for your time so far.
Oh, my pleasure, of course.
Okay, this thing goes to Discovery. Obviously, Disney wanted this to be dismissed so they don't have to do anything for it. They're probably going to be weighing how much settlement they want to do, considering the public nature of this case. The stock price, it's up to $90.37, which is still in the toilet as of the last 3 months. It was at $123. Gina wants her day in court. How likely is it for this thing to be televised so that we can all enjoy the mutual search for truth, perhaps here on That Park Place or on the WDW Pro channel?
0%.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yep. Federal courts do not have cameras.
Zero.
And I'd hate to put somebody of my friends out of business, so I'm not going to say what I really think about cameras in courtrooms.
No, that's okay.
What I have to say doesn't really make a difference. But no, that's not going to happen. But as we have seen in other federal trials, or in the New York Trump criminal case, people go into the courtroom, they report in real time. It's a little bit less of a circus if you don't have the cameras. But from here to trial, I mean, what's going to be much more interesting is going to be the stuff that's going to come out between now and trial, and now including a summary judgment motion if it's not settled. This is a really, really good decision, and people keep asking about precedent. It's an important decision. It's a very, very sound, well-written, well-balanced decision. And if anyone in the legal commentariat has commented or does comment to the contrary, I would be very interested in seeing what that person has to say, because I don't see where there could be a hole in this.
Do you get the sense from the judge that, from this 23-page order, essentially, do you get the sense from her that she's going to strongly consider, Gina's case, and that she's not going to, as we're worried about her getting her fair day in court? Do you get a sense from this that she's heading in the right direction?
Yes, and I think she's going to be fair to both parties. This is a high-profile case. Disney is a powerful company, and a federal judge is supposed to be less amenable to outside pressure, but there is a cultural, sociological bubble that they live in as well. I think this judge, this is a case that Disney's lawyers have to worry about whether they're going to be heard fairly. He told them what they're going to have to prove. She does not like what she has seen so far, and well, indeed, might she not. The fact that someone coming up from her background coming to this fair of an opinion really warms the cockles of my heart and gives me the strength to go on. If it didn't come from her, it would come from someone else.
Yeah.
But in this case, it comes from her.
Before Ron gets away, I have one last question.
Okay.
There's been a lot of talk about how what comes out in Discovery may lead to either other cases or some kind of class action if it's proven to be a company-wide policy and not just let's get Gina because we don't like the cut of her jib. What is the likelihood of that, do you think?
Well, was it two different likelihoods?
Right.
I think there's a distinct possibility that this could be a link in a chain for more individual claims. Class actions here strike me as a bit of a stretch.
Right.
Because in a class action, what's the typical class action? The same exact damage happened to every member of the class. We all used the same kind of tire. We all bought the same product. We all spent the same amount of money per widget.
Right.
Here, it's a very individualized kind of injury, if there's any injury at all. She is the perfect plaintiff, just about, for this case.
I have to ask, on the subject of class actions, would a good example of a class action suit be the one against Disney right now, and all the ladies saying that they were held back and not properly paid because they were women?
Let me throw this from Jim Jam for $5 on top of that. What can employers take away from the results of this case? Will it change how they see employees' social media or DEI-centric training? So I'm going to combine this in there. Jim Jam, great question.
Well, I think all these questions are. I don't know a culture where that case stands. It is true that when you have a pay discrepancy case based on disparate income, disparate effect of discrimination, that can proceed as a class action, but that legal test, disparate impact, is dying a slow death because it's really not a valid. Women and men are not the same, and there are often reasons that have nothing to do with their sex, but have to do with their career paths. So I'm not gonna weigh in on that case. Jim Jam's case. What Jim Jam's question? What are they going to take from this? They're going to take from this that they're going to have to be a little bit sneakier than even Disney was here. And what Disney was here was not very sneaky at all.
That's the thing.
Well, they announced it.
They as much as announced it because virtue signaling requires that extremism in defense of virtue never be a vice. Channeling a little gold border there for you, Lou.
Yes,
now,
absolutely.
I do want to throw this in here. Packing protons for 5. Ron, chances of Bob Chapek testifying? Probably been asked already. Chapek was the CEO at the time. I do believe the email chain included Bob Chapek.
Yeah.
So there you go, packing protons. I would say
See
that's
ya, guys.
And we've been told that NDAs don't prohibit criminal testification. Does it apply in civil like this too?
Yes, it does. And the NDA will not. In fact, every NDA just about will always say, unless pursuant to a court order,
oh, great,
thou shalt not.
And I just have to say that Ron agreed to a 1/3 of the time that he's given us today. So thank you, everyone, for all of the kind words to Ron. He deserves
Thanks,
every
guys.
one of them. Thank you for being here, Ron. You're a saint.
Good night, everyone. Good night. I'm used to talking to you guys at night.
as we say in Hebrew.
Yep. Thank you, Ron.
See you.
Everybody needs to go check out Ron Coleman on YouTube. If it's a muscular black man, then you might be on the wrong channel.
But that's a fine channel.
I love Ron. Absolutely love Ron.
If you'll permit me, Jonas, I want to highlight one thing here from this order that was given out by the judge in denying the dismissal here. Hollywood Reporter has a section here of what Disney tried to argue before the judge. So Disney argued that there's a First Amendment right to choose employees who properly convey their values, even when these choices would otherwise violate state anti-discrimination laws. It cited the Supreme Court in Boy Scouts of America v. Dale, finding that the organization's decision to fire an openly gay assistant scoutmaster is protected under the Constitution. Constitutional right, the court concluded, shields the scouts from violations of New Jersey discriminatory laws. So if we refer to the actual order right here on page 14, starting with line 4, here, although defendants engage in expressive activity, including but not certainly limited to producing and disseminating The Mandalorian, this is from Disney's perspective, they have failed to establish that they engage in expressive association. Furthermore, at this stage in the litigation, the court cannot conclude, as defendants urge it to, the plaintiff continued employment by defendants would inhibit or intrude upon defendants' rights to expressive association. As an initial matter, unlike the Boy Scouts or JCs, defendants are not members-only nonprofit organizations. Instead, defendants are for-profit corporations who, as relevant to this lawsuit, employ actors such as the plaintiff, being Gina, as well as administrative staff to create television series and films. Speakers do not, of course, shed their First Amendment protections by employing the corporate form to disseminate their speech, but unlike in Roberts v. Dale, defendants have not identified any evidence in the complaint or otherwise to substantiate a claim that they employ public-facing actors for the purposes of promoting the, quote, values of respect, decency, integrity, and inclusion. Accordingly, defendants' invocation of the supposedly detrimental effects of plaintiffs' mere presence as one defendant's employees lacks constitutional import. That's a pretty stern, like, hey, you don't have enough to substantiate your claim. And who actually made that claim, by the way? You'll remember that the rebuttal that came from Disney's side, was that attorney at the top of the chart there? That's Daniel Petrocelli, right? Oh, man, stacking up the L's as only Daniel can do.
Yeah, speaking up, Northman JH says, is Vash going to be the court reporter for that Park Place? That is a very interesting question.
Because he's absolutely laying around doing nothing right now.
That's right. He's got nothing to do.
He has nothing else to do.
Maybe he can edit from the courtroom.
I just want to know if we're going to buy one of those cute little court reporter things to type into so that he doesn't have to use his keyboard like a guitar like he does now.
I love it.
I love it. All right. I just want to remind you once again, that was an abbreviated version. If you're a nerd like me, you probably want the full version. For the full version, you're going to need to go over to
That Park Place Podcast's online.
and hit subscribe. That will be releasing sometime within the next few days of this releasing on this channel. Of course, if you want the entire live stream that this was on, you can go to the members section and join up here. Our Tipcot members have access to the last 90 days of live streams on this channel on the archive. Thank you so much for tuning in to That Park Place. I know it was a short video. I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. Drop your comments down below if you got any of those. Like this video if you like this video, and consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.